Hare Krishna. So it's my great pleasure to try to serve you by discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. And of course, I have no qualification for doing that, neither material nor spiritual. So I count only on your blessings, starting with the senior-most Vaishnavas, like His Grace Revati Prabhu. It actually is happening nowhere else on the planet that GBC chairman is listening to my class. So only in Tirupati Dham. So you can understand how special this place is. So we'll be reading from the third canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, chapter 4, which is entitled Vidura Approaches Maitreya, text 25. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya. Vidura uvāca. Jñānam param svātma-rahaḥ-prakāśaṁ. Yada yogeshvara-ishvaraste. Bhaktum bhavannor hatiyadi Viṣṇur. Bhrityasva bhrityat kritas charanti. Synonyms: Vidura uvāca. Vidura said. Jñānam, knowledge. Param, transcendental. Sva-ātma, regarding the self. Raha, mystery. Prakāśaṁ, enlightening. Yat, that which. Aha, said. Yoga Ishvaraha, the master of all mystics. Ishvaraha, the Lord. Te, unto you. Vaktum, to narrate. Bhavan, your good self. Naha, unto me. Arhati, deserve. Yat, for. He, reason of. Viṣṇu, of Lord Viṣṇu. Brityaha, servants. Svabritya arthakrita, for the interest of their servants. Charanti, do wonder. Translation purported by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Shrila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Viṣṇu, the Lord, wonder in the interest of serving others, it is quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge with which you have been enlightened by the Lord Himself. Purport. The servants of the Lord are actually the servants of society. They have no interest in human society other than to enlighten in transcendental knowledge. They are interested in imparting knowledge of the relationship of the living being with the Supreme Lord, the activities in that transcendental relationship, and the ultimate goal of human life. That is the real knowledge which can help society achieve the real aim of human welfare. Knowledge in the matter of the bodily necessities of eating, sleeping, mating, and fearing, transformed into various branches of advancement of knowledge, is all temporary. A living being is not the material body, but an eternal part and parcel of the Supreme Being. And thus, revival of his self-knowledge is essential. Without this knowledge, the human life is baffled. The servants of the Lord, Viṣṇu, are entrusted with this responsible work, and so they wander all over the earth and to all other planets in the universe. Thus, the knowledge which was received by Uddhava directly from the Lord deserves to be distributed in human society, especially to persons like Vidura, who are highly advanced in the devotional service of the Lord. Real transcendental knowledge descends in the disciplic succession from the Lord to Uddhava, from Uddhava to Vidura, and so on. Such supreme transcendental knowledge is not possible to achieve by the process of imperfect speculation as performed by the so-called learned mundane wranglers. Vidura was anxious to know from Uddhava that confidential knowledge known as param sthitim, in which the Lord is known by his transcendental pastimes. Although Vidura was older than Uddhava, he was anxious because a servant of Uddhava to become a servant of Uddhava in the transcendental relationship. This formula of transcendental disciplic succession is taught by Lord Caitanya also. Lord Caitanya advises that one receive transcendental knowledge from anyone, whether a brāhmaṇa or a shudra, a householder or a sannyasi, provided that person is factually conversant with the science of Krishna. A person who knows the science of Krishna is factually a bona fide spiritual master. For those of you who know, that is the quote from Sri Chaitanya Charitamrita, very famous verse. And if you know this verse, you can repeat together with me. Kiba Vipra, Kiba Shudra, Nyasi Keninoi, Jai Krishna Tattvaveti, say Guru Hai. That's Bengali, but still it's something which we need to learn. We learned this verse even in Russia, what to speak of here. You are much closer to Bengali than Russians. You have more common words. This is a very interesting verse. Vidura uvāca jñānam param svātma-rahaḥ-prakāśaṁ yadāha yogeshvara ishvaraste bhaktum bhavan arhati yadhi Viṣṇu bhrityasva bhrityartha kritascharanti. Vidura said, O Uddhava, because the servants of Viṣṇu, the Lord, wander in the interest of serving others, it's quite fit that you kindly describe the self-knowledge which you have been enlightened by the Lord He Himself. So I'll be asking sometimes some questions in the process of the discussion, and if you know the answers, you please verbalize them. This is very interesting. Two great devotees meet, Vidura and Uddhava. One is very confidential servant of the Lord, his actually prime minister and his personal advisor from Dwaraka, Uddhava. And the other one is one of the greatest devotees from Hastinapur, Vidura, who, as we know, is Yamaraj himself, taking part in Krishna Lila. And Vidura in here is asking Uddhava to give him jñānam, param, transcendental knowledge. And there are different types of knowledge. As we know, what most people consider to be knowledge in the modern world is not knowledge, but what? Ignorance. So, what people think is knowledge is actually avidya. Because it is something which even animals know. Ahara, nidra, bhaya, maidhunam cha. Jai Shri Radha Govinda Stasaki Vrinda Giriraj Govardhan ki jai. Shri Gauranga Mahaprabhu ki jai. Samana eva pashupi naranam. It says that these four types of human activity, eating, sleeping, mating, defending, are the same like animal activity, no difference. Sama. But there is one difference. And what is this difference? Dharma hitesha, adhiko vishesha. And without dharma, dharmena hina, pashubi naranam. That those human beings, they are no better than animals. But we can see that mostly the science, so-called science, is teaching people how to live animal life. And it is very strange phenomenon in Kali Yuga that scientific advancement brings opposite results to what people are expecting it to bring. Because, all this science is based on ignorance, right? Everything came from Big Bang. Human beings came from monkeys, right? Is it surprising that human beings all over the world, they behave like monkeys? If they think they came from monkeys, so they think, why should we behave better than monkeys? So, Prabhupada says that if you calculate some formula and in the very beginning you make a mistake, the more you calculate, the more mistaken result you will get, right? So in the very beginning of calculation, we come from monkeys. They make such a big mistake that this mistake only amplifies, right? And our understanding is very different. We didn't come from monkeys, thanks Krishna. Whom we came from? We come from Krishna, right? And it is true both in the dimension of time and space, right? Because the very first living being is Krishna. And so from Krishna Brahma comes, from Brahma all other living entities, the Prajapatis come, and then at some point of time, these Prajapatis, they inhabit with their descendants the entire universe. So, if we are more accurate, we can say that we didn't come from monkeys, but we came from aliens, right? Because, our predecessors, they came from other planets, from higher planets. And in terms of space also, Srila Prabhupada suggested that you can count in a very simple way. I have a father. It's not possible to take birth without father. And my father has also father, grandfather. Therefore, his father also has his father, grandfather. And so, if you keep going down and down the timeline, you can understand that we also came from Brahma, and whom Brahma came from, Garbhodakashaya Viṣṇu, whom Garbhodakashaya Viṣṇu comes from, Krishna. So no matter how you calculate, you come to Krishna. Like that. How they came to monkey is very mysterious conclusion. Probably they took the wrong turn somewhere on the way. But anyway, because they think they came from monkeys, they think they should enjoy unrestrictedly like monkeys do. Monkeys don't have much rules for their enjoyment. They do whatever they want to do. And so the entire scientific advancement is aimed at this, right? How to help people to enjoy and control. Because human form of life is very much interested in control. Because we came from Krishna, the supreme controller. So our tendency to control is also very strong. However, this tendency to control has to be utilized properly. How do we utilize our tendency to control properly? Controlling our mind and senses. Vacha vegam, manasa krodha vegam, jiva vegam, udaropasta vegam. Etan vegan yo vishaheda dhira, sarvam apimam pritivim sashishyat. This is what Rupa Goswami explains. This is how we should utilize our tendency to control. Control our mind, control our speech, control our tongue, control our belly, control genitals. What else do we have to control? Anger, yes, thank you. So this is how we can utilize our controlling tendencies. And if someone controls these six, because someone may say, I don't want to limit myself to self-control, I want to control others, right? But then what Rupa Goswami says, if someone controls these six elements, sarvam apimam prithivim sashishya, then the whole planet will come to such person to become his disciples. Without desiring to control, one will control the whole world. So this is the way. This is the spiritual science. We start with ourselves, and then everything comes. And who is the best example for us? Srila Prabhupada, right? Srila Prabhupada didn't want to control the whole world. He wanted to serve the whole world in Krishna consciousness. But because he was so expert in controlling himself in all respects, the whole world came to him desiring to be controlled. And Prabhupada was even surprised himself. He said, you know, when India was British colony, white people had so many Indian servants, right? Indians were doing everything for them. And Prabhupada said, I'm Indian. I have so many white servants. They do everything for me. And I don't even pay them. At least British people, they were paying something, right? He said, I don't even pay them. They pay me to serve me. That's a surprise. But this is what Krishna consciousness gives, I think. Yeah, Srila Prabhupada is the best proof of the effectiveness of Krishna consciousness. Anyway, coming back to this point that, the advancement of civilization is giving them crazy results. Even materialistic people, they notice that the smarter our phones are, the more stupid we become. Anyone noticed that the more you use your smartphone, the less you have to think, and your thinking faculty starts degrading? Anyone notices that? So this is the result of modern advancement, right? Now they count on artificial intelligence, but they say no artificial intelligence will ever compare to natural stupidity. And especially plastic, right, is the greatest invention of science. And now they have so many problems with plastic. Between Japan and Hawaii, America, there is a artificial island formed from plastic. And you know how big it is? It is bigger than Hawaii, this island, and is 1.5 kilometers thick, deep, and it's all composed of plastic. And scientists are alarmed because the plastic pollution in the ocean is so bad that entire, life in ocean might be finished very soon. And if ocean is dead, we're also dead, because we're depending on ocean. So they don't know what to do with the results of their scientific advancement. So this is agyan, right? This is avidya, ignorance. And so another type of knowledge is aparavidya, right? Aparavidya means inferior knowledge. It is knowledge, it is necessary knowledge, basic knowledge, like knowledge how to count, how to read, how to write, etc., right? But this knowledge can or may not be used in the Lord's service, right? Because so many people who can read, they read some nonsense. So many people who can write, they write some nonsense, right? And they count, but they don't count for the Lord, right? And so that's why it's called aparavidya. But the best knowledge is what? Paravidya, or jñānaṁ param. And what is paravidya, or what is jñānaṁ param? It's been described in Bhagavad Gita to start with. And what's the first point of jñānaṁ param or paravidya? What is the foundation of our philosophy? What's the first and most important thing to understand? Yes, we are not the body. So this is how Bhagavad Gita starts. It's confidential knowledge because not many people know about it. Even some big scientists, they have no idea that they're not the body. Like Srila Prabhupada was so frustrated with Professor Kotovsky in Russia, he kept quoting him, when he said, Swamiji, there is no soul. There is nothing after death. We die and that's it. Prabhupada said, he is a professor, how he can say things like that? How one can be that ignorant being a professor? And so that's why Prabhupada decided to start Bhaktivedanta Institute to enlighten the scientists in spiritual knowledge. And so this is basic knowledge, which relates to the Brahman category, that we are para-Brahman, and there is also apara-Brahman. material world, Lord's energy. And so what is the knowledge which is higher than Brahman? Next level? Paramatma. The knowledge which relates to Paramatma. And you can see that, for example, the 6th chapter of Bhagavad Gita explains Paramatma. And there is knowledge which is even higher than Paramatma, and that is Bhagavan, right? Vadanti tattva vidas tattvam yaj jñānam advayam brahmeti paramatmeti Bhagavan iti shabdyate. This is what Bhagavatam explains, that this jñānam param has 3 divisions: knowledge of Brahman, knowledge of Paramatma, and knowledge of Bhagavan. And the most important is, of course, Bhagavan iti shabdyate, to hear about the Supreme Lord, to learn about the Supreme Lord. And there is knowledge which is even higher than that. What is the knowledge which is even higher than that? Knowledge about the Supreme Lord. Is there any knowledge higher than knowledge of the Supreme Lord? Huh? Yes. That knowledge about serving the Supreme Lord and serving His devotees. That knowledge is even higher than the knowledge about the Lord. And that's why Srila Prabhupada was saying that the most important book for us, of all the books he gave, is what? Nectar of Devotion. It's very interesting that in the beginning, as you know, Srila Prabhupada, he was not sure how much he will have to live. So he gave the first canto of Srimad Bhagavatam to devotees. Then, as soon as he could, he translated Krishna book. So the first canto, the base is covered, and then Krishna book, knowledge about Krishna is there. But then he gave devotees Nectar of Devotion, which is the summary study of Bhakti Rasamrita Sindhu. And when devotees started reading Nectar of Devotion, one devotee said, Srila Prabhupada, it seems like, Krishna book is definitely Krishna, right? Everything about Krishna is in Krishna book. But in the same way as Krishna book represents Krishna, Nectar of Devotion seems to represent Shrimati Radharani. And Prabhupada said, yes, this is correct. So, and who is our topmost object of worship as Gaudiya Vaishnavas? Shrimati Radharani. So, that's why, surprisingly enough, the most important book for us is Nectar of Devotion. And actually, Srila Prabhupada said, every Bhagavatam class, there has to be some points connected to Nectar of Devotion. So, which we will try to follow while discussing Srimad Bhagavatam. And so this is the knowledge Vidura wants to get from Uddhava. What Uddhava will respond, we will learn from next verses, but this is the beginning of the wonderful conversation. Let's stop here and see if there are any questions, comments, complaints, suggestions, and we can discuss further. Of course, if there is nothing we could say. A few more words. Yes, Lila Parayan Prabhu.
So this chapter Maharaj, many devotees when we go out, they ask us, reading how Krishna closes pastime, and also Queens of Dwaraka, how they left this material world. This is a question for us.
Yeah, that will be discussed in further verses. Actually, there will be quite a thorough, few points on this about Krishna's departure from this world, because in the beginning, earlier on, it's been discussed that Uddhava is actually feeling great separation because of the departure of the Lord. And so there will be a few questions and answers in this regard about the departure of the Lord in further texts. And it is more elaborately described in the 11th canto of Srimad Bhagavatam, which also contains Uddhava Gita, how the Lord instructed Uddhava. But yeah, it's a big subject matter, departure of the Lord. Why the Lord departs in the first place and how he departs, etc. It's very interesting. Very painful subject matter for us. We don't like to dwell on this subject, but it's also important for understanding the Lord and his pastimes. So yeah, in the beginning of the 11th canto, it's been quite elaborately described.
Other you mentioned about the scientific advancement, so how much trouble it's causing. So we can see nowadays everything is going very fast. You can see the mobile. So like we are getting victim, even though we are practicing Krishna conscious movement, we are also getting affected. So it's not for outside people, it's for the Krishna conscious practitioners also. So how we can go in this place, like how we can practice our Krishna consciousness, how we can give Krishna consciousness to others. So it's very, going forward, it will become so difficult. So we can see, the mobile itself is enough. So it's having so many things, new things are coming up, people are getting
Yes.
by that. Like that, outside, inside, everywhere.
Yes. So we have to be very careful about this scientific advancement, because first of all, it makes people lazy, and second, it makes people stupid, right? Because, lazy, everything is done for you, and basically your whole life you spent sitting down, right? And they say that sitting is new smoking. It's even more dangerous for health to sit down for too long than even to smoke. So yes, we have to be very careful of the scientific advancement because of its destructing nature. And for example, using mobile phones, we should make sure that we spend as little time as possible on our mobile phones. Try to control ourselves as much as we can. So just use the bare minimum of scientific advancement which is necessary, but no more than that, because then it will become poison, right? Like medicine, right? In a small doses, it can heal, bigger dose can kill. So this scientific advancement is like that. If you overdose yourself, your spiritual life might be finished. So we have to be very careful about these things. It's poison, unfortunately. So yeah, yukta vairagya is like that. You have to be very careful with it. Otherwise, I remember how Srila Jayadvaita Maharaj said, we try to dovetail scientific advancement or material things in the Lord's service. But at the end we discover that we get, by dovetailing these things, we get more tail than the dove, right? All right? Yes.
In the first sentence of this purport, Prabhupada is saying that the devotees are the servant of the society. But to be honest, I am not able to see myself as the servant of society. Because there are some people who I like, so I like to serve them. But some people I don't know them, I will be neutral with them. But there are some people who I really don't like them. I start hating them or something. How do we become the servant of it?
So servant of the society, in other words, civil servant, right? Does it remind us anything? Civil servants are government representatives, right? So they're meant to be serving the society because government is meant to solve the kind of problems which ordinary people cannot solve, right? For example, it's been very wonderful to see how in UP, which is, of course, the largest state in India, and our Vrindavan Mathura are there in UP. And so the chief minister is Yogi Adityanath, right? Sannyasi, it's very funny. Kali Yuga, no proper Kshatriya, sannyasi have to take the Kshatriya duty. But he is doing very good job with it because he says that so many foreign people take interest in our holy places as tourists, so we have to invest government money in developing spiritual tourism. And as per law, because India, as you know, is secular country, you cannot use government money for religious purposes. But he's very smart. He said it's not for religious purposes, it's for tourism. It's for international relationship development. So no one can say anything. And he's investing so much money into infrastructure, building very nice roads. Those of you who've been to Vrindavan before and now, you can see the difference, huge difference, right? And how much it costs to build the road? It's crazy amounts. No individual donor can, give so much money, but government has so much money. So it's just an example. And funny enough, that spiritual, bringing foreigners to holy places. Who started bringing foreigners to holy places? Srila Prabhupada ki jai. So Prabhupada started the process, which is followed by other people and produces such wonderful results. And so we can understand that, government servants, they are those who can do something which no one can do. And so in the same way, devotees have to represent the supreme government. So we have to be the servants of the supreme government. And therefore, we can do to others what no one can do. No scientist, no politician, no business people, no one can do what devotees can do, right? People have everything, but because they don't have spiritual knowledge and they have no idea of spiritual practices, even though they have everything materially, but they don't want to live. I mean, there are so many people, very wealthy people, very famous people, materially, who have everything in their lives, and then they commit suicides. Why? Because their life is empty and meaningless. After they accumulated everything, they discovered they are not happy. And they become depressed to such an extent that they want to take their lives away. And who is the only person who can help them? Devotee. Because devotees can give them spiritual knowledge. So that's why devotees are considered to be the real servants of society. the best servants, the top servants of the society. Thank you. Very good question. Okay, last one, if there is anything, otherwise we should be finishing. Prabhu.
Hare Krishna. How to utilize this controlling nature day-to-day life in Krishna consciousness?
How to utilize controlling nature in Krishna consciousness? Controlling ourselves, we spoke about, Vacha Vegam, Manasa Krodha Vegam, right? That discipline. Srila Prabhupada would say, disciple means discipline, right? It's like, little bit like in the army, right? We have one devotee here who used to be officer in the army, right? And army can achieve a lot because of a discipline, right? And so, in the same way, if we follow discipline, we can achieve a lot. And Krishna consciousness starts with discipline. Prabhupada would say that disciple means discipline. And so, controlling ourselves, then by achieving high level of consciousness, we can gain higher responsibility in our service to Krishna, like Revati Raman Prabhu. His position is that he is controlling the entire GBC body, and he is here in Tirupati, so you are very fortunate to have a person who is the top on the GBC level. And so he is controlling so many things. Why? Because he controls himself so nicely. Other devotees now, they wanted him to control the whole world in Krishna consciousness. So, yes, the more we learn to control ourselves, the more controlling opportunities we get to control for Krishna. And so this is our formula. We start with ourselves, and then everything comes from that. Hare Krishna. Thank you all very much. Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam ki jai, Srila Prabhupada ki jai, Nitai Gaur Premanande.